really warm welcome for each of you joining today our session in exploration of team coaching competencies. I'm really grateful that you trusted your time and carved those 60 minutes in your busy agendas to join us today. Very quick note, the session is being recorded, and I will make sure that we are going to share the session, this recording after the session is complete. And I wanted to acknowledge that we did have some technical hiccups with the recording last month, but I'm optimistic that this day to day, everything is going to run smoothly. So my name is Agle Holton. I'm team coaching practitioner and host for Team Coaching Circle. As a reminder, Team Coaching Circle was created to bring team coaches together as a learners community that goes beyond a specific school, a specific discipline, or even accreditation body, open to all. It's a space for exploring team coaching, sharing knowledge, and building the network. I wanted to acknowledge that it's a community-led initiative. It's supported by ICF Ireland chapter, and we are currently working towards accreditation of CCE units with ICF. So hopefully, once approved, you'll be able to claim those credits if that's of relevance to you. So now let's shift the gear and take a look what's ahead of us. Today, we're exploring team coaching competencies, and I'm absolutely delighted to introduce our speakers, each bringing true wealth of experience, practical wisdom in the field of team coaching. So first of all, I wanted to introduce Melissa. You should be seeing her pinned on the screen. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, everybody.
Great to have you, Melissa, on this call. And just very briefly, to remind, Melissa is a managing partner and co-founder of 6 Team Conditions Global, which is one of the leading diagnostics tool for teams. She also serves as a board of directors for ICF Ireland chapter, and she's specializing in coaching senior leadership teams, as well as teaches in the Trinity Business School, Trinity College Dublin. Very thrilled to have you on this call.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. And then we have Fabio, our second speaker for today. Fabio is an engineer turned executive and team coach with a really broad range of experience across UK, Ireland, and Italy. He is currently a team coach at Pentagon, as well as faculty member at Kingstown College. And he has a really deep focus on team coaching, corporate well-being, and leadership development. We're incredibly lucky to have you, Melissa and Fabio, and I'm sure that your experience and expertise, your wisdom, which you are going to share, will be really useful for all of us, all of the members of a community who are joining us today. So here is our very brief agenda. First, Melissa and Fabio are going to lead a discussion about the team coaching competencies. Then we're going to break into the breakout rooms where you're going to have a chance to reflect on your own strengths, your own growth edges, using the ICF Team Coaching Competencies framework. We'll wrap then the session and look ahead what our upcoming team coaching circles are here to bring. So without further ado, let's get started. Melissa, Fabio, the spotlight is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and nice to see you, nice faces, and welcome. The idea to create this workshop is because we really think, and thanks to Siobhan, that she is the ICF co-chair, ICF Ireland, and thanks for coming. And the idea is that competencies are very important. I don't know if you have the opportunity to see the screen. There are some. So you can see this is a prism, and I think is very important if you want to improve and become better coach or team coaches. It's very important to be able to divide, like the white light, into different parts in terms of competencies. So competencies are very important. We are lucky that we have the same competencies for coaching and team coaching, but what is inside is slightly different. So that is the idea, to reflect on how we can improve our skills, our competency, how change our beliefs as well, using the competencies. The idea is to ask Melissa. She's very, very knowledgeable, and she knows a lot about how we can improve what we think about competencies. So I would like maybe to ask a few questions, and then we can go into breakout room. That is the most important part. go into breakout rooms and maybe reflect on that. But Melissa, I was starting to think about, in terms of core competencies, how do you think in long term they can contribute to our credibility, to our growth, and in our practice?
So you can bring that into both the ICF core competencies and the team coaching competencies. As you've already mentioned, they've been mapped. So the team coaching competencies have been mapped to the 8 ICF core competencies. What I think it does is it helps us as practitioners really focus in on some key core ideas that are essential to engage in good quality team coaching with our clients. But what I also think it does beyond us as practitioners is it starts a very good conversation for us with our clients around what is this thing called team coaching. So I've been engaged in team coaching for well over a decade now. And I'm still noticing that when I go to engage with clients around the idea of team coaching, that it's still by and large misunderstood on a lot of occasions in organizations as to what exactly it is that we're trying to do here and how it's different to perhaps other team development interventions. So I think it serves multi-purpose in terms of really establishing credibility around the idea of what team coaching is and how it's distinct to other team development interventions, Fabio.
Thank you. I agree 200% to what you're saying. So, in terms of how we can improve, what is for you, in your experience, the competency or the competencies where a practitioner struggle the most?
So I don't know if it's what the practitioner, my spidey sense is it could be what the practitioner struggles the most with, but it's also probably the most important competency because it interlaps with all of the other 7. And that would be competency number 3. So establishing and maintaining the agreements, doing the contracting piece around team coaching is very, very different to doing contracting for some of our individual engagements. And to my mind, it sits within everything else because when we're contracting, we need to contract around the ethical practices. We need to contract around, what it is that the client is wanting to achieve so that there will be some kind of client growth. Within that context, because we're differentiating between, say, team coaching and team building, there is going to be a new level of awareness created on that team. We are going to role model a different type of presence on the team that we're wanting to role model as a way of the team and the team leader learning around their own presence on the team. The same with listening, the same with mindsets. So I think what's ultimately quite different about team coaching, certainly for me, is from the get-go, from the point of entry of me starting to work with the team, I'm working back to front. And the back is, how do I get to the end of this team coaching engagement in such a way that I have imparted a lot of these competencies directly into the team? And by imparting those competencies directly into the team, we are setting ourselves up in a much better way to be able to provide a sustainable solution for the team. So I will say to any client as a starting point, this is not about creating any kind of dependency on me and my team coaching partner. This is about us working in partnership and ensuring that the sustainability of this team's growth and effectiveness lives long past the team coaching intervention. So there's something quite novel about team coaching in that sense, that part of us engaging in these competencies is also part of us developing the team to develop some of these competencies within the team. Is that making sense, Fabio?
Absolutely. I agree. I
So the
agree.
contracting is tricky then as a
Yeah,
consequence. Yeah.
because contracting is something that you can come back not only the beginning of the program, but every session, every moment you need. The contract is maintain, understand exactly what we are doing here. Not only the coach, but the group. Because some people, they don't expect from coaches to let them learn, but they expect something to have
Yeah.
something to feed. Instead, they have to learn to fish. That is the great to me.
100% Fabio. And certainly, what I saw in my own research is that any team starting out with, here's the goals that we have for team coaching. And you need to do contracting with the team leader, contracting with the team, contracting with the organization. So there's a level of complexity of contracting from the get-go. They're very kind of what we would call, more tangible things to measure, right? So it's usually around aspects of the team's performance that the team is concerned with. It's usually also what their stakeholders are concerned with around the team's performance. Whereas what I noticed in my research is the stickings factor as to what stays with teams is the learning that happens in each of those sessions. And that is sometimes a surprise to the team because it's more than what they potentially bargained for. But it's also has a deeper level of stickiness because usually you've picked up on something in that learning that the team hasn't had an awareness of before, such as how we listen to each other on this team, how we show up in our presence on this team when we're doing team work together. Am I focused in on this team now and being present with the team? Or am I thinking about the million and one things I could be doing if I wasn't with this team right now? And so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. And when you were talking, I was thinking how strongly each competency is connecting each other with others. But I would like to focus more on how this can be bonded to the second one is to create a coach mindset that is like different from the coach one-to-one. And so how important is this?
So, developing the coaching mindset is one of the ones that, I can only speak to my own experience. When I first set off learning a team coaching qualification, I did the 16-month diploma with Peter Hawkins, the systemic team coaching diploma with Peter Hawkins. And at the time, it was only the second or third iteration of that program ever being run. So it was this really interesting situation where you had this group of team coaches or wannabe team coaches, certainly people that were working with teams. And the program itself was being figured out. And one of the things that became clear to me by the end of that program, Fabio, was around the coaching mindset piece. So I started into that program and I had a very, I would say, purist mind because, coming from an executive coaching background, I was very, well, this is what's, you know, the role of the coach and the coaching mindset that's needed. The team are the expert of themselves, treating the client as the team entity, so on and so forth. By the time I got to the end of the program, I realized that I was actually doing a disservice to the team because in trying to stay so purist in my executive coaching core competencies mindset, I was tying some arms behind my own back in terms of other skills that would be useful for the team to benefit from. And this is where we find ourselves moving between knowing when to step in with a team and being a little bit more, some people call it directive, some people call it structured. So I'm providing more structured coaching here, vis-a-vis I'm stepping out and allowing the team to essentially solve for their own problems or bring about their own awareness and so on and so forth. And that is one of the more difficult skills to learn, especially if you've come, and we all should come from having that executive coaching expertise behind us before we even enter into the space of team coaching. So developing the ability to know when to step into the team and to know when to step out of the team is an essential skill, and really fits with this idea of developing a coaching mindset and being true to what we mean by having a coaching mindset.
Thank you so much. I think that everyone should agree about what Melissa said, because it's really important. And the title of today's workshop webinar was Back to Basic. So basic is really what is important. I don't know if you are a fan of rugby. We saw a few days ago Ireland against the New All Blacks. I'm a fan of Ireland, a fan of Blacks as well. I say they are good because they are able to do basic stuff very well. Ireland not very well last day, but usually they're very good. So what is important to me is really back to basic. Competencies are basic, but are huge, super extensive. I would like to ask you the last question, then we can go back to prepare the breakout room if you agree, and then we come back afterwards in case if you have extra time. Melissa, is we know that coach is a very solo role because a lot of we work alone. Solo is an Italian word, by the way. And just to let you know, solo. But here in team coaching, we have to 90% of time, this is my 80% of time, work with other coaches. So create a strong bond, strong relationship with coaches before working with a team.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
For me, it's essential. I only work with teams partnered with another team coach. Some of you may know Colin Murphy from your travels. He and I were team coaches, partners for the best part of a decade, and I think we essentially taught each other how to engage with this work, and we still continue to engage in team coaching together. We did research together, and we're going to do some writing together. It's essential, but again, it's another thing for the team coach to take on when they're already in a learning mode. And this goes back to the coaching mindset where, supervision is essential. Because when you're partnering with your team coach, it takes a long time for you and your team coach to figure out each other's dance moves in useful ways and to catch each other's dance moves when those dance moves are less useful for the team, and to have a strong enough relationship to say with each other, you know what? Let's look at the learning that could happen from us having a conversation. And what we ended up developing into our practice, which we still use, is we often do that in front of the team. So we would have a dialogue in front of the team if either of us were feeling confused, like where are we in this whole thing now? Because it is quite complex when we're working with a team. So if either of us were feeling a sense of confusion and felt that the team needed to recalibrate around the work, he and I would often dialogue around that in front of the team. We would dialogue with each other around where we are going to go next. If something surprising happened, we would dialogue with each other in front of the team, and we'd invite.
Calling me? No, sorry. Oh, that's all right.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure what happened there. We would often invite the team then to dialogue based on what they heard and use that as an opportunity to co-create with the team how we all move forward. And that's where the real coaching mindset is coming back in again, where we're not standing there as we are the experts of this space. We have some expertise to bring, but we're not the experts of this space. And supervision then becomes essential, Fabio, because now you need supervision as an individual around your own individual needs. You need supervision with your dance partner. You need supervision. You need to clarify with the team that you're going to take those cases to supervision. And what I have found over the years is it's quite tricky to find a team coach supervisor that has the skills to be able to supervise around that level of complexity. So anyway,
Yeah,
I probably gone off on a bit of a tangent there, Fabio. But
no. I think I would like only to highlight a magic word you said several times, that is supervision.
yeah,
And I think it's something that you need to be clear for someone maybe that is not in the team coaching space, that you have another level that is the intravision or infravision, or call as you want. The fact that the other coach that know you very well, as you said for Connor, they can give you a very transparent, open feedback. Maybe it can be, and you or I, when they work with Andrea, for example, is very important because you can grow more faster. And yeah,
absolutely. So there's another team going on within the team. And, you know, when I did my executive coaching, Liz Norris, if any of you know Liz Norris, the quality of the intervener corresponds to the quality of the intervention. The quality of the relationship between the dance partners shows up in terms of the quality of the intervention with the team. So if you're not engaged in supervision with your team coach partner, how are you? You know, there's some stuff you'll catch yourself clearly. There's some learning that will, you know, as I say, Colin and I taught each other. But there's a lot of things that we won't see that the supervision frame brings into that relationship and that learning.
yeah, true. I have a lot of questions, but I would like to open the the space because I think it's important to give time to
Yes,
to
please do.
everyone that
Let's
is
do
here.
that.
Thank you so much again for being here. We would like
Pleasure.
now, I don't know if you have, can you share the amazing workbook that you have created? Yeah. So if you can see in Zoom, on the top on left, you have two tabs. One is meeting, the other is Egles hold on screen, and you can download it. Otherwise, you have it as well in the chat. This is a workbook. Please download it before going into the breakout room. So the idea is, if you can open it, the idea is to have some time in the breakout room and think about. So first of all, is two easy rules. One is everything you say in the breakout room has to be confidential. So don't share anything about Melissa said, Fabio told, but in the group we discuss X, Y, and Z, and one person focus on this, one other person focus on that. This is the first rule. Second, please define one spoken person if you want, and maybe we can have some feedback from the rooms when you come back. We have 3 questions maybe we would like to ask you to reflect on, and I'm sharing here in the chat as well, maybe can be useful for you. Okay, those are 3 questions. And the idea is we have 15 minutes in the breakout room. The first few minutes you can use to review the competencies if you didn't have time to read in advance. So and maybe focus on one of those. And the second part is try to reflect in which one you are good at, which one you can improve, what could be an action you like to take. So there is a nice scoreboard that you can use it, and then discuss open in the breakout room. Try to give space to everyone in the 10-15 minutes that you have, and then we can come back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We can maybe, I don't think we have time for every room, but I think maybe it's interesting to have some feedback from what came up from the. So pick a number, Melissa, from 1 to 7.
I'm going to be very predictable and say 1.
Okay. So Carol, Kieran, Jason, and Siobhan Bradley. Who would like to be the?
Well, we were a very efficient group and they nominated me.
Okay.
So
Well
I didn't have much choice. I'm only joking. So we evolved a little bit around the conversation in connection with the competencies as to whether are they kind of very much individually focused competencies. Is there anything missing there from a team point of view? So we kind of mulled that around, or is there more that could be added from a team point of view? And actually, we started to get into what is it like actually when you go in as a team coach. So when you're entering as a coach, what are you entering into? To see if some of that's been covered in the competency. Why are you there? So, for example, who contracted you to come in the first place? So when you're establishing boundaries and ethics, like is there a straightforward contract, or is there a third corner contract? So do you have a contract with the team, the manager, even the manager's manager? So in terms of establishing boundaries, we were looking then at the competency around trust and safety. So what is this team like? What is the psychological safety that exists within this team that you're going into in the first place? Right. So how do you figure that out when you're going in? Is there kind of a setup in some way actually that you're going in to try and rescue somebody? And we were touching on that actually sometimes you don't know until you get in there, right? So it kind of, you don't know what's actually really going on until actually you're in the process, and then you kind of have to figure that one out through the process. And we were talking, the experienced team coaches were talking about sometimes through that process, you may find out that the person who's brought you in is the person who's causing the issues. So it could be the manager themselves, right? I think we would all be conscious of this. So then how do you work with that kind of ethically and safely and establish contracts when either it's the manager who's causing the challenge, or it's quite obviously one person on the team? The team dynamics is actually pretty good, but the one person is causing that. So we looked at how the core competencies help with kind of supporting the coach in this space.
Yeah. I don't know, before moving to the different room, Melissa, do you want to say anything about this? Otherwise, I can tell one short story, if you want, as you wish. Do you want?
You go ahead, Liv.
Oh, yeah, I think it's very important what you said, Jason, and they put together 3 more points that are very connected with. One is trust and safety. The second is contracting, and maybe the third one is the experience that we have. And it's important because the manager can be not the problem, but part of the challenge instead of problem. So it's very important from the beginning to understand that maybe with different approaches we are talking with, where are we, and don't listen too much to the sponsor because they have a lot of biases and bias they can share with us, and then we come in with the same bias that they have. But it's important to understand maybe sometimes from the beginning, meet the team with a brief 30 minutes or maybe without the manager, because a lot of time the manager can be a great plus, but it can be an important minus as well. So that is to me, but experience is part of the journey. So maybe the first time we forget we are in a challenging situation. Next time with a new team, maybe we remember that we need to meet people not all together to understand what they think about themselves, how they see themselves. If they are a team, because 90% of time they're not a team yet. Only in the name, the label is a team, but they are more a group of individuals that are working together for different reasons. I don't know, Melissa, what do you think?
Oh, I would agree. I would very much, if I went into an organization and the conversation started around trying to tell me it's about the manager, it's about this person, I shut that down very, very quickly. It's not something that I want to hear. It's something that I want to experience and diagnose. But plus, it's a kind of a bit of a trap, really, as well, isn't it? Because it's making it about an individual as opposed to making it about who you're actually there to serve, which is the entity of the team. So a very polite way of shutting that conversation down is by saying, I'm here to serve the team as an entity. So I want to diagnose at a team level, not an individual level. And then you can return to it and come back to it.
Thank you. And do we move to a different room? Say another number.
3.
3. Okay. Number 3 is Caroline, Colin, and Carl.
Colin and Carl.
Yeah.
We didn't actually agree a spokesperson, so maybe we can tackle it, the 3 of us.
Okay.
Sounds good. You go first, Carolyn. Happy to jump in.
Yeah. So the first question, we were talking about how can it service the competency framework? Well, really, before we meet a sponsor, it's remind ourselves of all of these things. What we should be looking out for, how we should be behaving, and it can help us with a pitch to help the sponsor understand what we're there to do, what is team coaching, what is it not, to help them understand that it's not just a one-off, it's something that we hope would be sustainable, that you had the metaphor there of helping them to learn how to fish. So it's this. We got into what our strengths and weaknesses were, and we realized that coming from one-to-one coaching into team coaching is such a huge leap. There's even our strengths as executive coaches may not necessarily be strengths in a team context. So it's really looking all the time, reflecting all the time, and figuring out what do each of these competencies require from us as a team coach. And they're actually much more is the answer to everything, in fact, is what I say. I mean, I gave an example of one competency that I feel I'm very good at, but in a team setting, I hold back on. So it's how do I work with that in group settings? Maybe Colin and Carl would like to add to that.
No, I think you've captured it there, and one of the main points to reinforce some of that was really looking through the list of competencies, trying to identify which can be more easily transferable from an individual to a team session. But as we went through them, there was a lot of realization that these are, it's a very different approach that's needed. For example, establishing trust with one individual is somewhat easier than an entire team. And how do you make sure that you capture that for everyone? And the contracting, as already mentioned, how do those different layers interplay? So the contract with yourself, with your co-partner, with the team, and how do they all work together is quite complex.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. What is interesting is that the sub-competencies for team coaching is not instead, is in addition to the competencies and the core sub-competencies for the one-to-one. So that is interesting. And we need to work with both the groups of activities we have. It is a great. Melissa, would you want to ask you the last question? We are going to listen to another room. How do you prefer? Because we have a lot of questions for you as well, but I don't know what you.
I'll follow your lead.
Okay, but because we have a nice question to ask to Melissa, because she said maybe we'll let you know, maybe she can answer 1 second, and then maybe we can move to the last room if you have time. She saw and she discussed with us early in the breakout room that there is something we cannot. We have a lot of information already, but there is something else we can add in the team coaching competency. So what would you like to share extra in terms of competencies?
So I think Colin spoke very eloquently, leading on from Carolyn around, the level of complexity, and there's, it's a lot more nuanced than, when you're looking at it written down on a page, right? Those different layers of complexity and experience and skills that are needed. For me, one thing I feel could be far more explicit in the competencies is a team coach's knowledge of team effectiveness. So, if you think of, we're still figuring out this thing called team coaching, and it feels like, at this stage, it's more than a decade old conversation, right? But we're still figuring it out. We have decades of really reliable, robust research from team effectiveness. And if you think, like, one of the key roles of a team coach is to improve the performance of a team, it translates for me then that the coach would need to have an understanding of the science of team effectiveness. And that is, for me, not made explicit enough in the competencies, and something I would, encourage each of you to kind of take a look at. One of the core jobs that we have as a team coach going into work with the team is helping the team develop a shared understanding of the work, what the work is, and why they need to commit to this work in a shared way as opposed to an individual way. But then we also need to teach the team, new ways for doing that work, new ways of teaming. And there's lots of goodies in the team research literature and science that gives us the clues to answer that in ways that we can stand over. So that would be, for me, one of the things I think if there was a revision of the ICF competencies, I would be encouraging to be much more explicit.